By any measure, this is a good arms control deal. It provides deep reductions in Iran's centrifuge numbers and its stockpile of low-enriched uranium. That means that the deal extends the breakout timeline, the time that it would take Iran to rush toward a bomb without a deal, from a matter of weeks to at least a year for at least a decade. The realistic alternative to this deal is not a better deal. And it's also not war, as the administration has sometimes argued. It's simply a much less attractive deal.
They're in control in 4 countries at least. They recently, in Yemen, Syria, Iraq, and Lebanon. Recently, they're giving weapons to the Taliban in Afghanistan. They're still the world's single most important sponsor of terrorism. They're on the move, my friends. They're on the march.
I have no illusions about the Iranians. I have buried colleagues who've been murdered and tortured to death by the Iranians. I know what they are going to do with additional money. It is still better to find a path to keep them from developing nuclear weapons.
And I am not prepared to look the Iranian people in the eyes and tell them there is no possibility of regime change. There was and is an indigenous popular democratic movement with Western sympathies in a country that beneath its repression includes a significantly Western-oriented society.
I would like to actually get back to the question of moral responsibility, since you raised that very issue. What is our moral responsibility if we walk away from this deal? It's not a comprehensive solution, because none of our allies are signed on to a comprehensive solution. But in fact, it solves one piece of the Iranian puzzle for a less than optimal period of time and gives us more leverage and more leeway to address the other issues. If we walk away from this deal now, how does that help Syria? How does that help Iraq?
The critics would say, A, it only delays, does not block, and there is apparently no requirement in any way that is consistent with the underlying language about verifying and accounting for the previous military dimensions of what they were doing and lying to the world about.
The key to the deal here is not whether we go back and find out what happened in 2004 or 2003 or 2007, but are we in a position now to have reasonable confidence that if they start to cheat, we will know it? And I think every expert who's looked at arms control inspections agrees that this agreement has more teeth than we've seen before.
Why did the Iranians come to the table to start with? The point is, they came to the negotiating table because their economy was hurt terribly by these sanctions.
What made those sanctions effective was their adherence by much of the international community, particularly by Iran's traditional major trading partners in Europe. These are countries that did not agree to sanctions after Iran seized our embassy in 1979. They did not agree to sanctions after Iran sponsored terrorist activities against Americans and Europeans all across the Middle East and in Europe.
There's no deal that we can say, and we should, that if they're going to do business with Iran, then they don't do business with us.
Are you prepared to tell the American people that there will be no further business between the United States and Europe?
The argument that there is no alternative to this deal that gives a respite of 10 years and 15 years would have been made for a deal that gives a respite in 7 and 12, or a respite of 3 and 8, or a respite of 1 month and 6 months. If the deal is a bad deal, it's a bad alternative. If it's a good deal, it's a good alternative. And if the deal does not furnish the solution to the problem that it sets out to solve, then I don't understand how it can be defended as an acceptable alternative.
As Suzanne said at the beginning, this is not a deal to prevent Iran from getting nuclear weapons in perpetuity. Nobody says that. This is a deal to prevent Iran from getting nuclear weapons for the next 15 years.
I think it's a very bad deal because I believe it puts the Iranians on the path to nuclear weapons in 10 years, a blink of an eye in the Middle East. But I'm very more concerned, or is concerned, about the implications of this agreement as we basically legitimize this regime, which is the world's greatest sponsor of terror.
At the end of the day, any verification system depends upon the United States intelligence community and how good it can do its job. I think this deal significantly enhances the capacity of the American intelligence community to do that.
The polls are now closed. I just want to say one thing. It's rare in this city to have an assemblage as distinguished as this, and it's rarer still to see them engage each other as directly as they did, as forcefully as they did, but to disagree agreeably. So I want to give them round of applause, and I want to invite you to join me in that. Really great discussion.